Good evening, sir.
Good evening, ji.
Sir, you can start the class if you want.
Okay, just wait a minute. Today we have discussed in the class, in last class, regarding the cash management. And the cash management is based on the cash policy of the company. Well, how to manage, ठीक है ना, our cash. So we have to first design the cash policy of the company. So managing the cash and its importance of the company, we have discussed in the last class. First, the define the cash and cash equivalent. We have already discussed. But is cash equivalent? Bank balance and marketable security, which is easily convert within 3 months. This is called the cash equivalent. Importance, estimation, and cash break-even point. So now we will discuss, here what is cash break-even point, the remaining part. We have discussed in the last class the working capital cycle. Okay. Well, a fund required to operate the day-to-day transaction. This is called working capital. Okay. So working capital cycle be determined so that we can easily manage the cash. If you fail to achieve your working capital cycle, so definitely beta your cash management definitely will be mismatch. Okay. This we have already discussed. Goal of cash management we have discussed in the last class. Now बेटा यहाँ से आएगा स्टेप इन कैश मैनेजमेंट. ठीक है. I better some problem regarding my pen tablet. So I just format my laptop and I think there is a no software of pen tablet. So just I cover all the theories. If remaining part is there, then we will discuss in the last class, next class. So what is the step of cash management? Number first, the creation of realistic cash management. Cash budget for a short-term fund. Short-term means the working capital, and for the long-term fund. Okay. Then offer discount to customer to prompt an early payment. Okay, na? These are some steps to manage the cash. क्या करना बेटा? Curate creation of the realistic cash budget for the short term and for the long term duration. Number second is offer discount to customer for a prompt payment and the early payment. Number third one is monitoring and prioritize all cash disbursement. है ना भाई? मतलब we have to write down all the cash disbursement points, ठीक है ना भाई, according to priority. We have to definitely pay such cash within this month, the particular date. And avail the facility of discount from the vendor for making the prompt payments. ठीक है भाई? So we have to allow the discount and we can also avail the discount from the party. And liquidate the absolute and abnormal stock of inventory. ठीक बेटा? Liquidate the absolute or abnormal stock of inventory. If you have any of the inventory, ठीक है ना, as a obsolete or abnormal, so definitely we have to liquidate. Now beta to management of cash, there is some of the floats in respect of cash management. And beta all the floats ठीक है nowadays is definitely not related है ना, old are the old concept. फिर भी बेटा हम लोग डिस्कस करते हैं. The cash management aims reducing the time taken to collect the receivable and matching the properly the payment and outflow. ठीक बेटा. Suppose the duration of collection of payment is just example that 22 days we have already discussed at the time of working capital cycle. If you collect the amount from the debtor, suppose in 20 days, so definitely we have to allow the time to the creditors is more than 20 days. But in complete cycle, our object should be reduce that time so that we can collect that cash in a minimum time. So there is always time lag in collection of receivable and disbursement of payment, and that these delay can be termed as float. Clear beta? So there is a time lag in the collection of receivable and disbursement of payable. So this is called float. So now three type of float specify in your study material. Number second is the mail float. Number second is the processing float, or number third is the bank float. Well, delay may be possible due to the mail float, due to the processing float, or due to the bank float. But beta all type of floats, all type of delay reason nowadays is immaterial and irrelevant. Immaterial and irrelevant. Why? The first float is the mail float. Suppose you sell the goods in the Maharashtra, Mumbai from Delhi, and your supplier will send the check by the courier or by the speed post to you. It takes just example 5 days to collect the check from the bank. Your object should be the mail float, the time which is in transit definitely should be less. If you or if the supplier send the check by speed post, or if the courier is more fast, or some of the big courier like the Blue Dart is more fast, so better you have to send the check using the Blue Dart courier. But now it's a time of computerized and time, centralized banking system time, online banking system time. So nowadays, is there any person send the check by courier to the supplier? No, never. Now you can deposit your check anywhere in India, and this amount definitely will be credited in your account within 1 or 2 days. That means nowadays, beta, mail float is irrelevant. Number second is the processing float. The processing float means when you receive the check, so definitely you have to deposit the check into the bank. You have to follow some procedure to deposit the check into the bank. So this is called the processing float. Nowadays, this is the online system. You can transfer the money either using the RTGS or NEFT or any of the online mode. Either PhonePe, either Google Pay, either Paytm, or either net banking or online banking. So definitely beta, the processing float nowadays is not relevant. Or number third is the bank float. So once you deposit the check into the banks, now the bank send your check for the clearing. Okay. Nowadays, beta, the check system is not very popular because the time is the computerization time or the CBS system time, central banking science system time. So nobody is using nowadays check and everyone using the online transactions. So again, beta, the processing float is also not relevant nowadays. But for the examination purpose, how many type of float in respect of cash management? So total 3 type of float. Number first is the mill float. Number second is the closing processing float. Or number third is the bank float. Okay. Now beta question कैसे आ सकता है? But is the not a float in the cash management? Mill float, processing float, bank float, and accounting float. So correct answer is the accounting float because accounting float is not the float of the cash management. ठीक है जी, पढ़ते हैं बेटा. While planning the cash flow, outflow based on the cash flow, and the above float should be considered. And the company can reduce the processing flow as it within its control. Well, whenever you determine your cash management, your cost management cycle, so we have to consider what are the mill float, processing float, and bank float. Suppose your supplier is issuing a check to you, and you have determined it takes total 10 days to credit the amount in my account. 5 days it takes for the courier. 3 days it takes for the processing, or 2 days it takes for the clearing. So whenever you allowed the time to the creditor, whenever you determine your cash management or the cash management cycle, then you have to consider all type of float. Or your object should be reduce the duration of cash management or the cash cycle. Then how you can use? So you have to use different type of method to reduce the float. But beta, in the online transaction, in this era, online transfer, RTGS, and NEFT modes of transfer for more popular than check payment. The supplier are giving their bank detail to the customer, like the bank account number, IFSC code number, and branch address. The customer are directly transferring the fund to the supplier through beta online banking. Not only online banking, nowadays different type of online transactions. Take with different type of application. With this mode, payment of the float in cash management can be reduced. Can be reduced means क्या बेटा, all the floats है ना भाई, definitely you can be reach up to the zero. Once the due date to make the payment by the supplier, so it takes hardly 10 seconds or 15 seconds or 30 seconds, hardly 1 minute to transfer the money from one account to another account. With this mode of payment, the float in the cash management can be reduced, and the following are the benefit of online fund transfer. What are the benefit? Everyone know. Reduce the operating cycle time in cash management. Because in the total cycle of the cash, okay, better no float definitely nowadays is considered. So definitely your cash management cycle will be zero. Increase the working capital of the business, definitely. Reduce the floats of the cash management. Reduce the risk in the transaction through the check. There is a different type of risk in a way at the time when the supplier issues the check. Number first, there is a risk of mismanagement of cash check or theft of check. Number second is there is a chances to mismatch the sign. So this is again risk. And there is a more chances of dishonor the check or the bounce of check due to different type of reason. So different type of risk definitely may be reduced using the online transaction. And number last is increase the liquidity in the organizations. Requirement of cash is to be estimated on daily basis, and the following important point are noted. Note पर दी. Number first, the finance executive should be aware of the quantum of amount receivable and amount to be received from the debtor on that date. ठीक है बेटा? Priority of payment are to be made on that date, and the amount of cash available in hand and the bank balance. Okay. Now, beta, how to prepare the daily cash report? In the daily cash report, beta, how we will prepare? Opening balance of cash, including bank, because हम क्या पढ़ रहे हैं बेटा? Cash and its equivalent, plus cash receipt, whether cash sales, whether sale through the bank or the Paytm, PhonePe, any of the online mode, or any amount collected from the debtor, or any other amount of cash which you received during the financial year, during the period. Now we will subtract all type of payment, all type of movement of cash, payment to creditor, cash purchase, or any other payment related to business. Now we will calculate closing balance of cash. So how to calculate beta? Opening plus cash receipt or minus cash payment. So remaining is the closing balance of cash. So this is called the daily cash report. How much you have opening balance, how much you have received, how much you have disbursed. So remaining is the closing balance of cash. ठीक है ना? Some of the specimen and question is given in your study material. क्या लिखा बेटे? Small business firm prepare a cash report at the end of the every day to know about the cash position. Also, the plan for the next day payment. How we will prepare? The opening balance of cash and bank plus cash sales plus card sales plus customer collected from debtor, account receivable both are same. Any other receipts. Now we make the total opening plus receipts minus subtract all the payments like movement of cash, बेटा cash आपने पेमेंट जितना भी किया, जो आपने विड्रॉ कर दिया, कैश डिपॉजिट इनटू द बैंक, और टोटल कैश अवेलेबल फॉर द डिसबर्समेंट क्लोजिंग. तो ये डिसबर्समेंट का बेटा मोड आ गया, पेमेंट टू क्रेडिटर, कैश परचेज, ऑल द थिंग्स. Now what is the good cash management? What is the good cash management? Just think about the good cash management. मतलब बेटा, if you are capable, you are able to make the payment to your supplier, to your creditor within the time frame. ठीक भाई? So this is called, we can say, the good cash management. Then whenever you able to make the payment to the creditor when you receive the cash, ठीक भाई, from your debtor. Definitely, beta, if the debtor is failed to payment to you, so definitely you may fail to payment to the creditor. So this is called the good cash management. Good cash management is simple. It means, what does it means? Knowing when, where, and how cash need occur. Then you are a good manager. Then you can manage the good cash. If you have no when, where, and how the cash need occur. Beta, if you receive the cash from the debtor within the stipulated time, so definitely you can able to make the payment to the creditor. For that purpose, you have to know the day in which you are liable to pay to the creditor, or the day in which debtor make the payment to you. ठीक भाई? Or where? We have already discussed previously. But we have to decide the priority of the cash. Priority means the payment priority, in which you have to pay first. Suppose you have allowed the credit rupees 10 days to the creditor, then you have to arrange the money within 10 days. But if you allow the period is 30 days, so definitely, so allowed the period means some the opposite party allowed to you to make the payment within 30 days. That means beta, what is the priority? The 10 days in the priority we have to take first, then second, third, fourth, fifth. Now, knowing the best and optimum source of cash and how the source occur. ठीक बेटा, how the source occur and optimum source of cash. Suppose you have received total 1 lakh rupees today, then you have to optimum utilization of the cash. What is the optimum utilization? You have to make the purchase of goods which you immediately required. Suppose you need a cash worth rupees 1 lakh, 1 rupees 70,000, and you have the total money rupees 1 lakh. Then the optimum utilization is the purchase the goods first, which you have the priority. And by maintaining the good relationship with the banker and the customer, one can know the source better. Well, how you will determine the better source? When you have the good relationship with the banker and customer. Okay? If your customer is not very good, so definitely such person create the problem. Okay? Or if you have the good relations with the debtor and creditor, so definitely you are a good manager. The last point is know the credit period to the supplier and make payment to supplier on the credit period. Okay. But one of the term is given cash break-even point. Okay. I am just giving very easy definition of cash break-even point. But the normal break-even point, this is the term related to the cost accounting and the economics. The break-even point. Malay point where no profit and no loss is called the break-even point. A point where no profit and no loss. So this is called the break-even point. Is this clear, beta? Suppose the total sales of the product is rupees 10. Sale value is 10. And if you sell 100 unit, then you can achieve all your cost. So this is called the break-even point. A point where no profit and no loss. But over and above your break-even point, so this is your profit. Today, sir, I have some problem regarding my pen tablet. I am facing some issue. I think my software is not properly installed. So just please listen carefully. Now, what is the cash break-even point? It is a point at which operating cash inflow and operating cash outflow is equal. So this is called cash break-even point. Well, where the inflow and outflow of cash is equal, so this is called beta cash break-even point. Suppose your inflow during the month is rupees 5 lakh or your outflow during the month is rupees 5 lakh. So this is called the cash break-even point. Suppose beta if your inflow is more than the outflow, so this is the position of surplus cash flow. This is the position of surplus cash. But beta if your outflow is more than your inflow, so this is a negative cash flow. So this is not very good indication. So what is the cash break-even point? A point where operating inflow and operating outflow of cash and its equivalent is equal. So this is called cash break-even point. Now, how to calculate the cash break-even point? Under the cost accounting, we can calculate the cash break-even point fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. कैसे निकलेगा बेटा? Fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. तो जरा एक मिनट वेट करना बेटा, इधर एक मिनट जरा. Is there any way to, चलो छोड़ो बेटा. फॉर्मूला क्या है बेटा इन द कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग? फिक्स कॉस्ट डिवाइड बाय कंट्रीब्यूशन पर यूनिट. और इन द कैश ब्रेक इवन पॉइंट द स्क्रीन इज विजिबल. द फॉर्मूला इज फिक्स कॉस्ट minus non-cash flow expenses and divided by contribution per unit. Now beta we have to just have the knowledge what is fixed cost. As per the cost accounting, three type of expenses: variable cost या variable expenses, fixed cost या fixed expenses, semi variable cost या semi variable expenses. ठीक है बेटा. Now the example of variable cost. If the single unit increase or single unit decrease, then variable cost will increase or decrease accordingly. Is this clear बेटा? मैंने क्या बोला? If single unit increase or single unit decrease, so this is called the variable cost. The example: suppose for producing of 1 unit, 1 kg raw material required and the cost of 1 kg is rupees 100. Suppose. So whenever you produce the 1 unit, then the material cost is rupees 100. Whenever you produce the 2 unit, so material cost unit is 200. Whenever you produce the 5 unit, so material cost will be 500. So if single unit increase, so cost will be increase. This is called variable. And now fixed. The fixed expenses means which remain fixed up to a certain limit of production. Suppose beta you have Hanabi arrange the business premises on rent and the rent rupees 50,000 per month. So whenever you produce the 1 unit, 10 unit, 50 unit, 100 unit, you have to pay total 50,000 rupees during the year, during the month, sorry. So this is called the fixed cost. So fixed cost is clear beta. आगे लिखा minus non-cash flow expenses, the expenses which is not related to cash flow or which is occurred before commencement of business. The example is the depreciation. Example is the preliminary expenditure. तो कैसे करना बेटा? फिक्स कॉस्ट माइनस नॉन कैश फ्लो एक्सपेंसेस और डिवाइड क्या करना? कंट्रीब्यूशन पर यूनिट. नाउ द क्वेश्चन इज व्हाट इज कंट्रीब्यूशन? व्हाट इज कंट्रीब्यूशन? बेटा बुक्स में लिखा होता है द डेफिनेशन ऑफ दोस कंट्रीब्यूशन मींस सेल्स माइनस वेरिएबल कॉस्ट. सेल्स माइनस वेरिएबल कॉस्ट इज कॉल्ड कंट्रीब्यूशन. ठीक है, प्लस सेल्स ओवर ब्रेक इवन पॉइंट इज कॉल्ड कंट्रीब्यूशन. So what is the complete formula? Fixed cost minus non-cash flow expenses divided by contribution, and contribution means S minus V. One of the question is given and solution is also given. क्या लिखा बेटा क्वेश्चन में? The fixed expenses is rupees 76,50,000. Depreciation 54,800. Preliminary expenditure return of 1,50,200. Sale price per unit 199. Variable cost is 42. First calculate the contribution. How to calculate the contribution? Sales minus variable cost. So beta how much sales? 199 minus 42. So 199 minus 42. So beta 57 rupees is the contribution. Contribution is clear. S minus V. Now fixed costs. How much fixed cost? 76,50,000 minus non-cash flow. So non-cash flow includes the depreciation as well as the preliminary expenditure. Then we will subtract 54,800 minus 1,50,200. Now divided by 157. So this is the cash break-even point. Now check the solution. 76,50,000 minus 54,800 and minus 1,50,200 and divided by 157, and 157 is the contribution. So the answer is 47,420. If we sell 47,420, so this is the cash break even sales. Well, at that level, inflow and outflow of cash will be equal. So this is covered almost regarding the cash management. What is the importance of cash management? What are the steps to prepare the cash management and statement? What is the daily cash flow statement? What is the objects? We have already discussed all the things regarding the cash management and the three type of float. Now, small two concept is given here, so we will discuss. So in the next class, we will discuss the complete multiple choice question of this chapter. Then be the next chapter assess management. Okay. Today, I am really facing some problem regarding my pen tablet. So I am unable to write down anything, Sanabi. So extremely sorry for that. Now account receivable, estimation, assessment and interpretation of uncollectible account receivable. हमने बेटे पढ़ा था in the last class bills receivable, sorry क्या था, बैंक reconciliation statement, payable statement and receivable statement. ठीक है. Now again हमने यहाँ पे बेटा क्या पढ़ा, sales, regarding the cash sales, and now the some of the concept regarding the bills receivable or account receivable or the debtor. Okay. After reading this, until you will able to understanding the meaning of account receivable, estimate and assess the account receivable, and understand the uncollectible receivable and interpret the same. Okay. Whenever we sell the goods on the credit basis, then beta account receivable, bills receivable or debt will arise. After some time, we will receive or we will collect the amount from the debtor. It may be possible that we have to allow some discount to the creditor, so to the debtor, or there is also chance to non-recovery the amount from the debtor. So this is called the bad debts. So we have to determine all the things regarding the debtor here. But are the account receivable or the bills receivable or the debtor, all are the same. Money owed by the customer to the business are termed as account receivable, AR, or bills receivable, BR, or the beta debtor. Account receivable arise due to credit sales or the credit transaction of service rendered. Whenever you sold the goods on the credit basis, or whenever you provide the goods on the credit basis, so beta bills receivable or the account receivable or the debtor will arise. It is shown in the balance sheet under the current assets. Under the balance sheet, total balance sheet of the sole proprietor or the partnership firm divided into two parts. Number first is the fixed assets or number second is the current assets. So we will show the account receivable, bills receivable or debtor under the heading of current assets in the balance sheet. Okay. There is a bit a different format of preparation of final account of the company or LLP. Now estimation of account receivable. The sales department usually maintained a sales ledger and it's normally record the transaction customer wise. We have already discussed in the same chapter how to prepare the cash book and how to prepare the sales register. We have discussed. In short, debtor ledger is maintained individually by the sales or account receivable department. But whenever you sell the goods to Ram, to Cham, to Karan, to Amar, to Sita, to Geeta, so but we have to prepare all the debtor ledger individually or separately. Okay? It record the following in the customer ledger: transaction of sales, sales return, and sales allowance. But we have already discussed all the three terms in I think last class. Transaction of sales, sales, party account debit to sales. Number second is sales return account debit to party, or number third is the sales allowance. We have already discussed the sales allowance. So sales allowance is also classified as expenses. And the transaction pertaining to the customer received from the customer. So whenever the entry is, suppose with the Ram account debit to sales. So we will transfer such entry in the sales ledger, as well as we will transfer in this entry in the debtor ledger, or in that case debtor is the Ram. The balance in the customer ledger would represent the amount due from or to customer. We have already discussed in the chapter of ledger. We will prepare the ledger of each and every element which is covered in the general. So in that case, in this chapter, we have to prepare all the debtor ledger, all the account receivable ledger. Now, after transfer the ledger posting, next step is the closing of ledger. Then we will calculate the closing balance, and the closing balance definitely we have to transfer in the balance sheet. The sales and account receivable department would allow credit to the customer for goods sold on credit. For example, next 30 days may be credit term allowed. It means that the customer have to pay within 30 days from the date of invoice. All the things we have already discussed. Payment term. The common use payment term, credit term, is listed below. Either payment term or credit term, both are same. Okay. Number first, immediate. The payment is to be made immediate. No credit days are allowed. But if you make the payment immediately, then we will allow the more cash discount. Next days, the payment is to be made within n days from the date of invoice. Not n matlab 7 days, 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, not n number. This is just example. Clear? On n day after sight, the payment is to be made within n days from the date of receipt of the invoice. Okay. I have sold the goods to the customer. So once supplier receive the invoice, then supplier will make the payment. Okay. Now assessment of account receivable. Well, how to assess your account receivable? This is called the assessment. The account receivable department make an assessment of receivable from every customer. Definitely, just think, if you are a shopkeeper, if you are a seller, then definitely you cannot allow the same credit terms to all the customer. Definitely you will check the behavior, credit worthy, and nature of the customer or the trend of the customer. Then we will allow some of the period or the grace period according to basis of the nature, according to basis of the credit worthiness, or according to basis in the trend previous state. Normally, they prepare an aging analysis and aging agency, and they follow up on the receiver. Aging analysis is statement prepare categorizing the debtor outstanding for a period of 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or more than 90 days. So beta, this is the format to prepare the aging format, aging analysis. ठीक भाई, मतलब we have categorized the customer on the basis number of days or whether the customer fulfill all the term and condition or not. So this is better covered assessment of account receivable. Then how to assess your account receivable? Then you will prepare the aging analysis statement to analyze the beta kya assessment of account receivable. Next concept is the uncollectible amount receivable. The account balance of a customer which has no chance of being realized is termed as the uncollectible receivable. So this is also called the bad debts. Okay. Suppose if there is a less chance or very minimum chance to realize the amount from the customer, so this is called the uncollectibly receivable. Normally, they remain overdue for a reasonable period of time. Suppose you give 30 days, but the supplier is failed to make the payment in 30 days or also more than 30 days. ठीक है बेटा, in 30 days or more than 30 days. So this is the chance, the amount definitely or maybe uncollectible receivable. So this is called the bad debts. The business undertake all legal and possible method to collect the method. In spite of measures, the amount remain undue or become doubtful of realization. Then after a specified period, assume 180 days, the doubtful account become uncollectible account receivable. Definitely, better we have to give the time to the customer. Definitely, you offer only 30 days, but the customer failed to make the payment in 30 days, 40 days, 60 days, 90 days. Then you have to follow all the legal formalities, okay, to collect the amount. But again, this is fail. So you have to assume and you have to determine the doubtful amount after the specific period. So such this amount, this example when it is, and there are various reasons of an amount become uncollectible. Reason of the business to assume an account is uncollectible include the other party refused to pay or the buyer has undergone financial difficulty, making it impossible to pay for him to pay. Clearly, it become the insolvent, fail to pay. So there are different type of reason may be possible. ठीक है बेटा, आगे there are two methods. Oh, no. The policy of the classification account receivable differ from business to business. Once the account classified as uncollectible, and this should be written off to the income statement as it is the term of bad debts. We have better only discussed the bad debts in the, I think, in the part first. And how to pass the journal entry, we have already discussed in the part first accounting. So there are two type of method to evaluate and interpreting the account receivable. How many type of method? There are two type of method to evaluate and interpreting the account receivable. So there are direct write-off method, or number second is the allowance method. What is the direct write-off methods? So direct write-off method means the total amount is treated as the bad debts is called the direct write-off method. Just the company decide that the amount receivable has no reason to realize and they are bad debts. All the recovery measures attempted by the company to realize the amount has failed and the company is confident about the default committed. The company follow all the measures. Company again and again approaching to the party to recover the amount, but the party again and again fail. and with the last option, this is not mentioned here. Company have to issue the legal notice. After issuing the legal notice, if then such party is not pay the amount, then such amount can be treated as bad debts. The company completely write off the account receivable. So what will be the entry? Bad debts account debit to customer, bad debts account debit to party, bad debts account debit to debtor, bad debts account debit to account receivable, और bad debts account debit to bills receivable. कुछ भी बोल सकते हैं आप. Number second is allowance method. Under the allowance method, we will transfer such amount directly to the profit and loss account. On first, we will treated such amount as a provision for bad debts. Under the allowance, the company estimate the doubtful debt based on the previous track record. Under this method, previous for not better previous, this is a provision. This is a provision for bad debts created at the end of every financial year. It is revised from year to year. And the provision for bad and doubtful debt is transferred to the directly profit and loss account. So we have to pass under the allowance method entry is the profit and loss account debit to profit and loss provision for bad debts. Next. Write-off 2250 owed by Mr. Joe as a bad debts. We have already passed this type of entry. So now the entry is the bad debts account debit to Joe. The company has estimated 5% of its debtor to doubtful debt. And the create the provision for provision on debtor or the doubtful debt. How percent is 5%, and the debtor amount is 12 lakh 56,000, 12 lakh 56,770. Now calculate 5%. So 5% is 62,838. So this is the allowance method. Whenever we create the provision, so entry will be profit and loss account debit to provision for bad debts or the provision for doubtful debt. Both are same. Okay. This is the beta method or entry regarding the uncollectible amount. Next. Develop and explain internal control procedure. But we have to follow some internal control procedure so that there is a less chances to bad debts. Or whenever we follow the proper internal control, proper billing, proper segregation of duties, proper amount collection details. So this may be, this is the system of internal control procedure. After reading this unit, we are able to have a basic knowledge of internal control of procedure and sales. Internal control are the procedure, guidelines for the company policy, business owner used to safeguard their business information and operation. This is called the internal control. Well, if any of the things, any of the steps controlled by the company internally, so this is called the internal control. ठीक बेटा. So internal control procedure help in the process of avoiding error, preventing fraud in the business. Some of the internal control procedure that could be implemented bear reference to sales and handling the account receivable are. So these are some steps regarding the internal control of sales accounting regarding only sales. Okay. Proper billing system. Well, there should be a proper billing system to monitor the quantum of sales. Proper billing system would help in preventing unauthorized sales or unbilled sales. But if your system is very authenticate, then you cannot sales without any bill. And nobody can sales without the knowledge of the business or knowledge of the management. Well, there should be the sound system. Well, whenever you sell 1 unit, so it will automatically reduce the quantity of 1 unit in the stock ledger. This type of system you have to follow. This would control credit terms that are offered to the customer. Segregation of duty. There should be a segregation of duty with respect to handling invoice, credit memo, and receiving the customer payment. When some person is handling all activities together, it would result in fraud. Now check beta in the mall. Suppose you go to the any of the mall, example Reliance Digital or the Chroma or any of the beta retail chain store. So in this system, there is a segregation of duty. One of the person who just engage with you regarding the display of the product and passing the information regarding the product. Then you have to collect your goods from the collection counter whenever you make the payment in the payment counter. So after choosing your product, so now you have to go to the payment counter. After making the payment, so now the payment counter issue to the cash and memo. And now you have to show the cash memo to the display counter, to the issuing counter. So after issue the cash memo, now such counter handed over to you your goods. So this is called the segregation of duty and decentralization of duty. For example, बेटा यहाँ लिखा पढ़ लेना online transfer. There should be reduction received through the cash check from the customer. Online transfer should become customer from the company account. With online transfer, the fund of risk or fraud can be reduced and the amount directly credited to the company's current account. Just you visit to any of the store in the mall. So scanner is kept any of the place or the paste in any of the place. Whenever you scan the payment, so definitely such payment is transferred in the account of the owner. Audit trail of software. There should be audit trail of the billing software and the collection software should be completely restricted in order to have the accurate data. Approval of the credit term and the contract term. Whenever you got sold on the credit basis, well, only some of the person or the authorized person have the power to sell the goods on credit. And the credit term should be approved by the higher executive at the finance department and the contract term should be approved by the finance or legal department before being executed. Pre-numbering invoice. Invoice should also be pre-numbered and control over bad debts. Whenever you try to or the focus on the recovery of the amount from the party bills receivable, then definitely there is a less chances of bad debts. Bad debts return off should be done after careful consideration. Necessary step should have been attempt to recover the outstanding account receivable. So bad debts is to be written off should be done only with the approval of the sales department and the finance department. Done better. This is the complete sales accounting. Theory is comparatively more than practical. ठीक है बेटा तेजस्विनी.
Sir,
Any problem?
no, sir, nothing.
Completely hardcore theory. So I will send 20 to 30 multiple choice question, ठीक है ना, of this chapter, and we will
Yes, sir.
discuss, ठीक है ना, in next class also.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है बेटा.
Yes, sir.
Okay बेटा, bye.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, bye बेटा.